Before Jack ever throws himself fully into the hunt in episode 2, the show shows you something much quieter. Nobody came to say goodbye to him when he boarded the evacuation plane. That one flashback tells you more about Jack than almost anything he says on the island. And it's just one of 5 details in this episode that are easy to miss. Episode 2 shifts the focus to Jack, and on the surface, it plays like a straightforward hunting story. But underneath that, the episode is quietly building Jack's personality, the boy's growing fear, and the first cracks in Ralph's system. Here are 5 details worth going back for. The episode opens with Jack crouched over a muddy hoof print, studying it before we even properly settle into his story. It's a small choice, but it immediately tells you something about Jack. He's focused, patient, methodical. He's not randomly running through the forest looking for a pig. He's studying the evidence and tracking it. That makes his obsession with hunting feel much more deliberate. The show establishes Jack's ability as a hunter before showing us the darker side of what that ability will become. Then the episode cuts back to the evacuation plane. Other boys have parents there. They're being hugged and waved goodbye, but Jack has nobody. For just a moment, you can see that hurt on his face before he shuts it down and returns to that familiar blank expression. The show never stops to explain it, and that's exactly why the moment works. Jack spends the rest of the episode talking about his father, about being tested, and about proving himself. Later, he even argues that surviving the island is a test they need to pass. So this tiny flashback gives you an important piece of context. Jack isn't simply hunting because he likes killing pigs. He's desperately trying to prove that he's capable, strong, and worthy of the world he came from. During the hunt, Maurice accidentally steps on a twig and scares the pig away. Jack doesn't explode. He simply tells him, "Next time, keep silent." It sounds like ordinary hunting advice, but pay attention to the way Jack speaks. He's already expecting obedience. And later in the episode, that same attitude becomes much bigger. Jack stops seeing himself as just another boy in the group and starts openly challenging Ralph's authority. So this tiny hunting exchange is almost a preview of the power struggle that's coming. At first, Jack wants the hunters to follow his instructions. By the end of the episode, he wants the entire group to follow him. While the older boys are dealing with the island, Piggy tells the Litlans the story of Chicken Licken. An acorn falls on Chicken Licken's head. He thinks the sky is falling, and his fear spreads to everyone around him. Nobody stops to check whether his fear is actually justified. And then look at what happens in the same episode. The Litlans start talking about something frightening moving through the trees. One of them describes a big, horrible creature. The others laugh at first, but the fear doesn't disappear. That's what makes Piggy's story so clever here. It's not just something to entertain the children. It's almost a miniature version of what's beginning to happen to the entire island. One person's fear can become everyone's fear. Before the hunt, Jack paints his face. When Simon questions him about it, Jack insists he's not really painting his face, he's disguising it so he can blend in with the surroundings. On the surface, that sounds completely practical. But the episode makes the moment feel more important than simple camouflage. Jack is beginning to separate himself from the boy who arrived on the island. Behind the paint, he can become someone different, someone who doesn't have to behave according to the same rules. And that idea becomes even more important when Jack later abandons Ralph's rules and announces that he's creating his own camp. The paint isn't just about hiding Jack's face. It's the beginning of Jack hiding the version of himself that still cares about the old rules. Out of all 5, it's that empty flashback moment, nobody there to see Jack off, that quietly changes how you see everything else. The tracking shows his skill. The order to Maurice shows his need for control. Chicken Licken shows how fear can spread. And the face paint hints at the person Jack is becoming. Episode 2 doesn't suddenly turn Jack into a completely different character. It shows you the pieces that were already there and then slowly gives him a place where those pieces can take over. Which one did you catch on your first watch?